This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So this one's going to be a fun one, Strohs. Since coming back, we've agreed on almost everything.
Like 90% of it.
But we got some disagreements today. So coming up a little bit later, I'm going to tell you something that I need you to stop doing because it makes you an asshole. And I know you do it because I think we all do it. And also, we're going to talk Michigan and talk John Beilein. But Strohs, before we get to our first segment, I need to ask you how you feel about me derailing this entire episode from the jump.
Let's do it. I love it, man. You know how I operate. That's normally how all of our shows have gone. It's usually me knocking us off track.
So I had a curveball this morning in a group chat because I got in a little bit of a fight, and I just needed to address it really quickly with you. We can 2-3 minutes and move on to topic number one.
I love this stuff.
What the hell? Please tell me, what is a standard pizza? What is a regular pizza?
I would assume... I love how it always revolves around pizza with you.
Look, I said in a group chat, there's no such thing as a regular pizza.
Oh, I think there definitely is. I think it's generally cheese and pepperoni.
Well, so it's definitely pepperoni, but like there's so many other things. Like I don't think there is a regular pizza.
Like if you call like a pizza place, you're like, hey, I want one large pie. I'm assuming that they're gonna assume that means pepperoni and cheese.
But my point is, if I order a regular pizza from Jets versus a regular pizza from Little Caesars versus a regular pizza from the local shop, they're all going to be wildly different.
As far as flavor or the way they're
everything, man. How thick is the crust? Is it greasy?
Oh, well, yeah. So yes. But I think aren't we talking toppings here, or we're talking the whole kit and caboodle?
The pizza. If someone says they want a regular pizza, do you know what they want? Because I don't.
Yeah, generally I'm thinking you want cheese and pepperoni, and then I'm like, where do you want to get it from? If you say Jets, okay, cool, we're getting it from Jets. If you want to get it from...
things I will give. A regular pizza has pepperoni, and a regular pizza is round. Those are the only two things I will give.
Ooh, look at you. Look at you.
I mean, I love myself some Detroit-style square, but that's I just needed to get into that because I refuse to accept there's such thing as a regular pizza.
See, I think if you're from this area, if you're from the Detroit area, generally it goes by wherever you're getting it from, right? So if you get it from Little Caesars, it's going to be round. If you get it from Buddy's or you get it from Jets, I think you're under the assumption automatically it's square. I think you have to know where you're getting your pizza from, and if you don't, that's kind of the game changer. That's
fair, but I was given the impression by someone in a group chat that there is one regular pizza. If someone says I want a regular pizza and only that you should know what they want, and I think that's garbage.
Who is this person?
It's just a friend.
Is this a Houston friend or is this a
No,
Michigan
this is somebody I've been friends with since like 5th grade.
How?
And it's funny because he won't indulge me. I've been like, dude, what does a regular pizza look like? And he won't give me anything.
Really?
So I'm just supposed to know. He's like, yeah. And what did he say? I refuse to do anything but patronize you because you already know the answer to your own question. That's what he said to me.
Look, man, I think a lot of it, I think regular pizza just constitutes cheese and pepperoni. I'm going to just reestablish that, right? That is right off the jump.
I agree with that.
But after that, I think it depends on where you're getting it from. Because I think there's very specific instructions depending on where you're getting it from, right? So if you're ordering from Jets, you're getting that square. If you're ordering from Buddy's or you're ordering from Louis, you're getting that square. If you're ordering from Little Caesars or you're ordering from, I don't know, Domino's or anywhere else, I'm going to assume it's a round. If you order from Shields, like I'm just going with Detroit pizza places right now. You order from Shields, you're under the assumption it's going to be a round, even though they have square.
Well, I appreciate you humoring me. I needed to, I could not.
I love how pizza affects like 87%
you gotta understand,
of your life.
I had this conversation like now. Like I'm not done having this conversation. I was like, I can't go and record a podcast and not at least address this.
So through the podcast, if you're getting distracted or you just kind of seem like you've checked out, it's because you're responding to somebody in this group message.
And by the way, I've already got the tweet up there asking at Brendan Riley _ what is a regular pizza?
Let me go retweet this for you.
But we can get into the show that we had planned. I'm sorry to be that guy again. Coming up a little bit later. Stop being an asshole. And we're going to talk about Michigan and John Beilein.
By the way, I love when we put shows together, and it's going to be a good show when we're arguing through show prep.
Yeah, no.
you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot.
I knew this one would be fun. But Strohs, I think you kind of mentioned this a little bit last week. We didn't get too into it, but February is a little bit of a slower time of year in sports. And you mentioned something about the Lions drafting Tua, and now we got Mel Kiper mocking Tua to the Lions. I'm kind of going to let you decide where this thing goes. I mean, it sounds like to me you think the Lions should try and draft Tua.
So this is kind of how I feel about it, and this is the way I'm looking at it. If all of his medicals come back clear. If they don't, obviously you have to move on. You have to go in a different direction. But as far as Tua is concerned, if Tua didn't get hurt, I think there'd be a strong case that he'd be either the number 1 or the number 2 overall pick in this draft.
Oh, he wouldn't be the number 1 pick. There's no way.
Joe Burrow's penciled in number 1. I think there could be a case that could be argued for him to be number 1. But that's neither here nor there right now. Yeah, because he ended up suffering the hip injury. So it's what it is. Apparently, according to everybody, it is Burrow, Young, and then it's kind of a toss-up here, which is great for the Lions. I think the Lions are in a perfect position to basically control this entire draft. But this is why I don't have a problem with drafting Tua. You've got Matt Stafford, who has, in back-to-back years, suffered a back injury that has debilitated him. He missed half the season last year dealing with it. You don't know if he's going to be able to come back and give you another full season. He hasn't been able to do it, essentially, the last 2 years. So you're drafting some insurance there. Matt Stafford, I think the way it would probably end up working out, you could trade him with a minimal cap hit after next season. So the money's not an issue, and you could possibly trade him for something else, for a second or a third round draft.
If you do draft Tua, you're almost definite. See, that's God.
What?
A second or a third round draft pick. Jay Cutler got traded for 2 firsts.
But again, you have to remember Matt Stafford's what, going to be 31, 32, right, and he's had back-to-back back injuries.
But
look,
but let's keep in mind,
if you can get a first for him, I get it. If you can get a first for him, great. But I don't want to set the expectation too high here.
But what I'm saying is, if you go this route, you're not trading Stafford until after this next season, right?
Correct.
I'm on the same page as you. I don't want to take Tua, but I'm on the same page as you so far. You've got a whole other season now. So one of 2 things happens. Either Stafford has another back injury, and you're not trading him. If he has 3 straight seasons of back injuries, you're just going to have to eat it. Or he finishes the season healthy, and I don't think that those 2 seasons of back injuries really weighs you down anymore.
Right. And I get that. But at that point, he's what, 32? Maybe 33. Okay, cool. So now he's 33, and then somebody's going to have to need a quarterback. Somebody's going to have to want him. And again, I think I've kind of done a 180-degree turn on Matt Stafford. I don't think he's as awful as originally when we first met.
He's not as awful. Oh my God, I love you, Stroh.
So no,
that's the most atrocious way you've ever put that. He's not as awful as I thought.
Look, I think he's a top. Look, I think he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. All right, maybe a top 15 depending on what's going on. But I think he's towards the top in the league. I thought last season he was playing incredible. I thought he was playing some of his best football. He was efficient. He was money last year, and then he got hurt. So it becomes one of those things. I think you need to draft a quarterback to protect what you've got going, because we've been down this road before. You have to go back no further than when you had Ndamukong Suh. You had Ndamukong Suh, and you thought you were going to be able to you're going to be able to re-sign him. You thought you were going to be able to have him for another year. And then he ends up leaving. You could have drafted Aaron Donald, and you could have had a year with both those guys. Sue leaves, and then you've got the fill-in guy who, by all accounts, looks like he could be a Hall of Fame player. He's definitely a Pro Bowl player, and you ended up passing on him to go with a tight end named Eric Ebron. I just don't feel like reliving history again, and I think Tua could be a guy because of everything that he has, right? I mean, he's shown that he can play at the highest level. 1, he's an SEC quarterback. 2, he's won a national championship. 3, he basically comes from the most pro-ready program in college football in Alabama. 4, he's a different style of quarterback than what you have right now. He's a little bit elusive. I don't think he's going to be as elusive as he was early in his college football career, but still, he's elusive. The guy can throw the ball. The guy can put it on a dime. And on top of it, the dude's a leader of men. So I don't see a problem with drafting a guy like Tua. I think it would work out perfect for this organization. And now tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, I think you're coming at it from a reasonable place.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is you said to protect what they have. Like this team's had some success.
Well, that's the thing too, right? So you've won nothing with Matt Stafford. You've won absolutely zero with him.
Is that on Matt Stafford?
I don't necessarily think it's all on Matt Stafford, but at some point,
see, here's my problem.
You're the franchise quarterback. You got to put this team on your back at some point.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, we just disagree there. We don't need to get too deep into that. But here's the thing: this regime. This is somewhere where we do disagree. I don't think that the expectations are high enough, but I do think that there are expectations. I do think less than 8-9 wins is going to have them gone. Now, I think that number should be 10-11 wins, but I think there is some level of expectation. So drafting the future quarterback with the regime who's in hot water doesn't make a lot of sense to me. For one, I think we both agree, even if you draft Tua, he's not starting this year, right? Stafford's not a $34 million backup this season.
Correct.
So let's say they have a ton of success and things work out right. So now, I mean, I guess you trade Tua?
No. See, I think this is where
Stafford's 32.
Right, I get it.
If Stafford stays healthy, Stafford's got another 6 or 7 years in him.
I totally get it, right? But I think this is where progressive organizations make this tough call. If you have a great season and Matt Stafford looks like he rebounds from this back injury, you trade his ass. He's the one who goes.
Did that? Give me the example of the team that traded their 32-year-old quarterback after a great season.
Alex Smith was having
the one.
He's having a very good season, and they switched to Patrick Mahomes. And it's happened to him twice. It's happened to him twice where it was in San Francisco, and then it happened in Kansas City.
He got benched in San Francisco.
No, he got injured in San Francisco, and then they went to Kaepernick, and then they came back to him, and then they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go with Colin Kaepernick."
I'm trying to think of the other one because I'll give you Alex Smith. That was the one that came to my mind. Alex Smith had a very good year in Kansas City before they moved on from him.
You can look at San Diego, the Chargers, when Drew Brees was there. Drew Brees ended up having
an injury.
Right, he had a shoulder injury. It was a labral tear, and at the time, I get it. Labral tears were scary because guys just didn't come back from them. In hindsight,
the Dolphins took Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees.
Right. That's funny, right? But anyways, Drew Brees, they end up letting Drew Brees walk so they could go and turn it all over to damn it, what's his name? It's brain
Phillip
fart.
Rivers.
Yes, thank you.
They drafted Eli Manning, but ended up being Phillip Rivers.
Same thing with the Giants, right? I mean, it was one of those things where they put Eli in to start. They ended up benching Eli, and they went with Daniel Jones, which was probably the smart move there. But
Eli was 38. Drew Brees was coming off. If you believe Stafford's injury is a massive issue, I understand it a little bit more. But then we have this problem of, hey, Tua's hurt too. You know, and
again, this is if all of his medicals come back clear. If his medicals don't come back clear,
what if Stafford's medicals come back clear?
Well, that's fine. So here's the deal. Do you want to have an aging quarterback who has tied up roughly, I think it's like 17% of your salary cap? Or would you rather go with the young guy who you're going to get more longevity out of and who's going to tie up less than 3% of your salary cap? I think you go with the young guy.
I'd rather have the one who's proven to me that he is able to play at a level that gives you a chance at an elite offense. I think we've agreed that last year's Lions offense could have been elite.
No, I'll argue.
Maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think it's far.
I'll argue with you on this one because you don't have a running back on this team who can stay healthy.
Who the hell is Kansas City's running back?
Much less give you the yards that you need. I get it.
Running backs don't matter.
I get it with Kansas City, but Kansas City can just grab guys and plug them in. I mean, LaShawn McCoy, for God's sake, they dusted the mothballs off of him, and they broke him out of a crypt, and they got some useful yards out of him for at least half of a season. So I get it. But Detroit, the way this offense was built, it was built with Kerryon in mind. Kerryon can't stay healthy. So now you got to go pick through the bushel bin, and you got to go get a guy like Bo Scarborough.
That's the one thing they were too adamant about sticking to the run. I think if they were willing to just say screw this, we're going to throw the football. I think that's the difference between them being a good offense and them being a great offense, because we've seen in the NFL now you don't need to run the football if you're throwing it efficiently. The one thing I want to get to here before we move into the next topic, which is stop being an asshole.
I can't wait for this one, by the way.
And by the way, I haven't even told Strohs what it is that I'm referring to. But I think Joe Burrow is special.
Mm-hmm.
So in a world where you're talking about Joe Burrow and not Tua, I'd be a little bit more open to it. And honestly, like if the Lions went this route, I wouldn't be furious, but I just don't think it's the right move, especially when I think this regime's probably either gone after this year or gone in 2 years. But honestly, let's say the Lions somehow managed to get the number 1 pick, and like they had, lost enough games to get number 1 pick. I actually would want to take Burrow because I think he's special.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tua's a really good player, but I don't think Tua's Burrow, and I don't think, I don't think it makes a ton of sense to go draft the young guy with health concerns to replace the proven guy with health concerns. Like, yes, he's younger. Yes, he's cheaper. But for one, he's got to be healthy. And for two, he's got to show us he can play at this level because plenty of guys don't.
Can we both agree that essentially Detroit is in prime position to control this entire draft?
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I'll tell you, I think it's 2 episodes ago, I was adamant they would take Jerry Jeudy, and I still think it's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this moment, I think they're either going to get Chase Young or trade down and then take.
Let's discuss this real quick. So to get Chase Young, is Miami trading up with Washington then? Or
maybe it's Miami. Maybe it's the Chargers.
So okay,
maybe it's the Panthers.
So there'll be Washington will be trading back then.
Yes.
is what you're saying. So then you end up with Chase Young, and I think if you're a Detroit fan, I think everybody's happy with that, right? I think you're excited about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it helps solidify part of that defense, or at least you're hoping it does. You're hoping for essentially a guy like a Nick Bosa with Chase Young coming in.
I think one of those 2 things is what happens.
And what was the other one? It was them sliding.
It was
back.
Either someone trades up to 2 or someone trades up to 3.
Okay.
And if someone trades up to 3, I still think they're going to take a wide receiver. I actually think they're more likely to take a wide receiver at that point.
I could see that happening. It really depends on who it is, though. So if you get Oakland trading up, or if you get Miami trading up with Detroit, depending on what you get in return.
Yeah, how far back you go.
Yeah, I could definitely see a wide receiver being taken in that first round.
All right, coming up, we got to address John Beilein's a free agent coach kind of now. And, I mean, how can you not at least question whether or not Michigan should be interested? But first, stop being an asshole. I feel like I need to put the name out there just because I know a lot of our audience is familiar. It was Jim Kosta who inspired this topic, but to his defense, it's not just him. For one, my dad does this, and I also realized I do this, but I think almost all of us do this. Strohs, I think I've told you, I'm a phone call guy. I like having phone calls with people, especially I live 1,500 miles away now, so I call people to catch up. Well, Jim and I have been doing this since I got here, but even more so, we used to do it from time to time, even when I lived in Grand Rapids. Well, recently, he's moved in with his girlfriend.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's been a lot of pictures of his girlfriend on Facebook. And
he's also, he used to live 5 minutes away from work.
Okay.
Now he lives 20 minutes away from work. So now the phone call, it has a little bit of a script to it. It's Jim gets into the car, drives home, and then says, okay, I'm home now, bud. Talk to you later. These phone calls, by the way, Strohs, used to be 45 minutes used to be a short phone call. Now he calls me when he gets in the car, and I'm telling you, every single phone call ends with, okay, well, I'm home. And it doesn't drive me crazy necessarily, but every single time I hear that, it kind of feels like, boy, that's really rude. And again, it's not just him. I've had other people do this, and I'm guilty of getting in the car and that being the time to make a phone call. Just, it feels a good time, right? You got nothing to do. That being said, to my own defense, I have more than once, fairly regularly, if I'm driving somewhere else or even home, I'll sit in my car and talk for another 10 or 15 minutes before I get out of the car because I'm on the phone with you. That's what I'm doing. I'm not you're not gonna cut the conversation short just because you made it to your destination. My destination. Exactly. And I don't think Jim's alone. I think this is incredibly standard, and I also think it's incredibly rude.
Yeah, look, so I think if you're a multitasker, driving and talking on the phone basically you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, right? I handle a ton of business while I drive.
I'm all about efficiency.
And on the phone, yes. And one of those things where I don't feel like I have enough hours in the day, so if I'm driving around someplace and I've got 15, 20 minutes to kill on my drive someplace, I will call, I'll schedule an appointment, I will take care of something that has to get taken care of. But more to your point, if I'm talking to a friend Or if I'm talking to my mom and I get to where I got to be, guess what? I'm going to hit, take the handset, put the phone to my ear, and I'm going to walk into wherever I got to go, and I'm going to handle what I have to handle. You know what I'm saying? I wondered where you'd
be, because I think this is standard. Like, I think so. I wondered if you were going to go, oh no, man, I do this too.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think that.
Look, I have done it.
Yeah, no, and I have too.
But it's one of those things where, depending on where the conversation is going, okay, so my mom is notorious for this.
That's important. That's so important. Like with Jim, it doesn't. We could be getting into like something juicy, and it's like, dude,
and it's like conversation's dead. There's no like, okay, we've hit a lull. Like, he doesn't even wait to find the natural like stopping point of the conversation. It's like, I'm home. It's done. It's over.
He just cuts it off like right there in the middle.
Yeah, that's part of. I think that's part of what makes it so frustrating. Is like when you call someone like because we call it close to weekly, maybe a little less often, and just catch up. And it's like you're like trying to think like, okay, what did I want to say? What did I want to talk about? Like, oh, hey, I want to talk about. Oh, you're done. Okay, well, I'm glad I entertained you for your ride home.
Honestly, that's kind of a dick move, like for real.
No, dude, it is.
So this is the thing, right? My mom is notorious for being a repeater. She will repeat the same thing 5 and 6 times, and by the time you get home, you're just kind of like, all right, cool. Like I've already heard this 4 times prior. So at that point, I'll be like, hey, Mom, I'm home. Can I give you a call later on? And she'll be like, oh yeah, okay.
The next time I'm in a car,
right? Pretty much. But it's like, I've already heard it. So like there's nothing else we can add to this conversation. You're just continuing to belabor the same exact point.
But I think ending the conversation because it's done is fine. It's just if you're getting in the car and going, okay, now's a good time to call someone, I'm fine with that. Just understand, like, if your conversation is still going and you're cutting it off because you're home, and you know what? I don't even necessarily think that this is like a sin to do once or two. Like, there are times when, hey, look, I'm really busy. I'm like, this is what I told, because I told Jim that I was gonna call him out for this. I told him, and by the way, when I told him, would you believe that phone call went until I said, hey man, I gotta go? We went like almost an hour, and I had to leave for work. But it was funny because I don't think a phone call we had went past him getting home in basically since he moved in with his girlfriend. But if there's like a time here or there where you're really busy, I understand. But that can't be your norm. Your norm can't be, I'm going to use you to cover up my 15, 20, 30-minute drive. And like you said, Strohs, if you're doing appointments, like that's totally different because that's like a 2-minute phone call, like just get something out of the way. But like if you're calling to catch up, because like I know we have listeners who don't, who live far away from home, right? And if you're having a phone call just to like catch up with people, God, it's rude as hell. And I'm not the person to tell somebody that either. I'm not the person to be like, dude, you're being rude as hell. But like, it is selfish. And I almost think I'd rather be lied to. I think I'd rather be like, hey man, I don't got anything else. Like just like wrap it up naturally. The line, I'm home now, literally sounds like somebody is saying, I don't need you anymore.
Basically, it's like they disposed of you like you were a used condom. Like,
yeah,
I'm going to throw you away now. And
you have fulfilled your purpose. If you're not satisfied, that's your problem.
Right. It sounds like Jim's love life.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You have fulfilled your purpose. I have no need for you anymore. So if you do this, don't take it too to heart, because I have done it too. And I think most people have done it, but like, be conscious of it, please. Because I'll tell you this, ever since I started thinking about this, I actually had thought about doing this last week and just forgot. But ever since I started thinking about this, the moment I make a phone call in the car now, I'm super conscious of it.
Really?
Hell yeah, dude. Like, because it's incredibly selfish. You're going to help me fill my time of my drive. Mm-hmm. So I've tried to be better about not make, like, if I think it's going to be a short call that'll end in the length of my drive, cool. If not, it's like, am I going to have time when I get home to continue this call? Because I have quite a few friends who I call and we just catch up every so often. It's different lengths, like how far apart with different people. But it annoys me because it is the norm for multiple people that I talk to, and it annoys me. So I try not to be that guy. I try not to be too much of a hypocrite about it.
Dude, it's one of those things, like, I get it, and everybody does it, but it is kind of a dick thing to do. It really is.
continue the conversation on any of this stuff, the pizza stuff, the Tua stuff, and are you an asshole? On Twitter at Brendan Riley _ at Adam R. Strohs. And now we got to fight again. So I didn't know if we were going to fight this time. We didn't. We kind of agree. We're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
But I know we're going to fight again on this. John Beilein gone from Cleveland. Should Michigan give him a look? So John Beilein is a little old to be a guy you want to bring in. I think that's the concern here. I'll just address that right off the top. And I have a feeling that's the biggest reason you're going to disagree with me. But I think Michigan needs to at least do their homework on John Beilein. I'm not saying they need to go all out and make a push to bring John Beilein back. But this dude took Michigan to completely new levels. And I think they need to at least explore. Does he think he's going to be around a while? And when I say a while, I'm talking like 5 years needs to be the minimum. If this guy doesn't think he's got 5 years left in him, I've got no interest. But if he thinks he's got another 5 to 10 years, I think Michigan needs to seriously consider reaching out to John Beilein to bring him back.
Okay, so when you initially brought this up, I was like, why the hell would we talk about that? Like, it just, to me, it doesn't make sense. You just went out, you brought in Juwan Howard. You basically gave Juwan Howard a recruiting class. I know that what you're getting on the floor right now probably isn't what Michigan fans want, or maybe even expected. But this team is pretty hot right now. I think they've won 6 of their last 7 or 7 of their last 8 games. And it seems like they're tracking in the right direction. I don't think you're going to have the same success under Juwan Howard that you had with John Beilein. All that being said, I have no idea how you go out and you bring John Beilein back when you just brought in Juwan Howard. It makes no sense to me how you do this.
I mean, it would be doing one of your all-time greats pretty dirty. And that's just the truth. It wouldn't be a good look. But man, I just think like John Beilein's going to be the hottest college coach on the market, right?
Yes.
Will it even be close?
I don't think so. But here's the thing, right? You have to see.
And you have the inside track on the guy, I would think.
You have to see where he wants to go and what he wants to do, though. Because
maybe
he might be so burned out by his 50 games that he spent in Cleveland that he might need a year and a half to just recover.
Maybe he's out of the Midwest. Maybe he's tired of being in the Midwest.
I mean, it could be. Where does he want to go? Does he want to go out does he strike you as a guy who's going to go hang out in sunny California?
Hey, some people mention Texas.
I could see Texas. He does not strike me as a West Coast kind of guy. He strikes me as maybe
the Midwest is a joke. He went from Michigan to Cleveland,
right? I get it. But he doesn't strike me as a California or a West Coast kind of guy. Maybe go to Florida, Texas. I could totally see.
And Strohs, I said it on our return episode. I never saw this coming, but now that I live here, I'm like, dude, I've been here 7 months, and I can't imagine living somewhere cold again.
Right.
So, I mean, it's possible he wouldn't want to come back even if you wanted him. And you're right. There's a possibility he'd want some time off. But that's why I want to do homework. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not screaming from the mountaintops, go get John Beilein. But I think you need to do your homework. If he thinks he'd come back for 5 or 10 years, it would absolutely be doing one of your all-time greats dirty. But if you have a chance at a guy who's proven he is a top-tier college basketball coach and he wants to come back and he's got a run in him, I don't see how you can pass that up.
I think it becomes really difficult for the university. It puts the university in a really bad spot. And this is probably one of the biggest frustrations with him going and him flaming out so bad in Cleveland, because it really felt, if you were a Michigan fan, you really kind of felt like you were building on a team that was a perennial contender for the NCAA tournament. You were building on a team that would regularly get to the Elite Eight. And you were building on a team that every couple of years would challenge in the Final Four. And all of a sudden he gets wooed away to go to the NBA, and then you insert Juwan Howard. And I don't know if you remember. I remember when Juwan Howard was announced. I was not a huge fan of this hire. I like Juwan Howard. I think he has some abilities, but to me, he was not the guy to follow in the footsteps of what John Beilein had helped establish.
You had gotten to such a high level. I mean, you weren't Duke or North Carolina or Kentucky, but I mean, you might have been in the next tier.
I think you could make the argument that wherever you see Michigan State basketball at, I think Michigan was there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, they had just gotten there. They had just arrived.
Yes.
But I agree. I think that's fair. They had gotten to that level.
And look, Michigan State, regularly a very good basketball team.
I think it's fair to call them tier 2.
Yeah.
They're not the blue blood that Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke. I think you put Kansas in that category. I mean, college basketball is not my thing. I'm actually a little nervous even putting Kentucky there.
No, Kentucky should be there.
But after that, like, elite tier where you expect them to be a 1 or a 2 seed 75% of the time,
mm-hmm.
I think Michigan State's in that tier, and I think that's where Michigan is.
Yep.
And was. Not to say they can't get there with Juwan Howard, but and that's the thing, right? Like, I was comfortable putting Michigan in that tier under John Beilein, and I'm not comfortable putting them there under Juwan Howard.
Me neither.
And full disclosure, I've watched like a half hour of Michigan basketball this year. I'm never going to watch Michigan basketball before March outside of maybe a big game here or there. I know they were hot out the gates, and I know things have slowed down now, but like at the end of the day, we're not even going to know what Juwan Howard is after next year.
Exactly.
We know what John Beilein is.
Exactly. And look, it's one of those things where I totally get what you're saying and why you would do it. I just don't know how you would facilitate that and how you would make that happen without burning a ton of bridges, without looking like an asshat of a university, without disrupting whatever recruiting you've got. That was the one thing when Juwan Howard came in is you got a couple 5-star guys who you might not have got with Beilein.
No, that's fair.
So
you probably wouldn't have.
I don't know how I don't know how this would all play out and how this would all work. The one thing I would say, Xavier Simpson recently got in some trouble driving Ward Manuel's wife's car and crashing it. I don't know if you have those discipline issues if Beilein's here. I think the way the program is ran might be a little bit tighter. Now, again, this is Juwan Howard's first year. I think things will kind of get figured out as he goes along. But again, there's a ton of question marks. Whereas it's kind of like this, right? It's kind of like having that ex-girlfriend where you basically know what you got. You know exactly what you have. You know that Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to suck with her because she normally has really bad days at work. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are freaking awesome.
Yeah, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 5 days, you get the best sex of your life every single time. So why the hell aren't you going back to that ex?
Because Tuesdays and Thursdays are that horrible.
That's fine. I'll throw away Tuesdays and Thursdays. Nobody likes those days anyways.
Nobody likes those days anyways. Tuesdays and Thursdays are awful. That's why we do a podcast on Thursdays to help brighten up your day. But
so what it sounds like to me, Strohs, what it sounds like to me is,
whereas with Juwan Howard, it's just like it's just super regular. Like it's right now you have the potential to have that awesome sex. I don't know, 6 days a week. Right now you're maybe getting it
6 days a week.
Maybe right now you're getting it 3.5, 4 days a week. I don't know. She wakes you up with a blowy. It's great.
Honestly, you know what I hear here is I hear that you're afraid to look like the bad guy.
I am afraid to look like the bad guy. That's exactly what it is. I'm glad you read between the lines.
I'm telling you that you got to look out for you. You got to take care of yourself.
I know you're right here. But I don't know how. I just don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that with a guy who has meant a ton to your university. Like you just go back to the Fab Five. He was like one of the guys who was very clean. Very clean.
You go to him. And you say, Juwan, look, man, we have good sex 3 days a week. But John Beilein was 6 days a week. You got to understand, we love you, just not as much.
Just not as much. You don't give us the butt stuff or the baby oil, so we're going to move on to John.
You don't force anything here. You don't, you know, because there's a very real...
Wouldn't that be rape then? Is that what we're talking about now?
I knew as soon as I said that, I was like, yeah, wrong choice of words. You don't have to offer John Beilein a contract. You don't have to try and bring him back because there's a very real possibility. What is he, 60? He's in his late 60s, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a real possibility he's not looking to be around a whole lot longer. And you don't you can't take it lightly what you would be doing to Juwan Howard by bringing back John Beilein. But at the end of the day, if you can bring back somebody who has proven to be a great college coach, a guy who is going to be the hottest commodity on the college coaching market, if you can bring him back and he's going to be around for a while, or at least you think he will be, I think you got to do it. And I'm curious because you know what? I would have thought I'd see more conversation around this. Maybe it's because it's college basketball. I haven't seen a lot of people getting too deep into this yet. So I'd really like to know what you guys are thinking. Are you afraid to look like the bad guy? Do you stick it out with Juwan Howard, or would you at least explore bringing John Beilein back? Continue the conversation on Twitter at Brendan Riley _ at Adam R. Strohs. So this episode, we've definitely been on differing sides, but I don't think it's been as it feels like a mature disagreement. Maybe I don't know that we've always been that way.
The animosity wasn't here. I thought for sure we were going to resort to name calling on this episode. It didn't get there. I don't know why. I'm not sure.
I think we had fun. It was just a little bit more mature.
Yes, it was
we've grown up in the last 7 months.
A much more mature conversation. You know what I think it is? And this is I think when we were doing our other shows, I think I was kind of the thorn in the side, and I think that was just because I was so miserable in my own life that I just brought that to the podcast. And I
mean, it's real, man. Like it's real life. I think there's probably some legitimacy there.
I think I'm just in a little bit of a better place. It's not been great, but it's better.
I also think that as we get back around the football season, that's where you and I do the most of our fighting. So I think if you're waiting for the Brendan and Strohs screaming at each other, I think it's going to come. I think we can have fun until then as well.
Just a side note, Beilein, 67 years old. His birthday is February 5th.
I wasn't confident enough, but dude, if the 67-year-old's giving you good sex 5 days a week, he can't ask for anything more. All right, I think that's going to do it. You got anything else, Rose?
I'm good.
All right, thanks for hanging out with us. It's the Practice Squad.